So now it's up to you as to
Mhm.
where you think we should focus our energies.
So, as I said before, it's not necessarily that I think it's the one that I would like. All of them kind of capture my imagination to a degree, and I
Mhm.
think that, like, I like so, like, for the first one, about, like, the people who or the one person, um, following the rules that the main character never received,
Mhm.
uh that kind of thing would require, I feel like, more world building that we'd have to have more
Agreed.
conversations about. We'd have to figure out what some of the rules are. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know who the characters would be, and we'd have to figure out what where, as I said before, like, is it taking place in modern times? Is it something 20, 30 years ago? Does it
Yeah.
take place in Western culture? Like, that kind of thing would require more conversation, I feel. And
Yeah, it's
therefore, I
very
think I'm
open-ended
gonna
in that respect.
yeah, I think I'm gonna avoid that one for now.
Mhm.
Um, so the second one, that one, I like the anything cartoony, something like that appeals to me. Because I
Mhm.
don't really draw it a lot, but I that was kind of I think when I think about when I first started drawing, that would have been the type of characters I would have drawn.
Yep.
I loved like Saturday morning cartoons. I loved reading the Sunday paper with all the cartoons and the comic strips in it.
Mhm.
So that one right away speaks to me. So I'm going to put a pin in that one for a moment.
'Kay.
Um, and I just want to just say real quickly that uh, these are going to be about half an hour. So I'm going to probably be drawing for about 10 or 15 minutes. So I do
Mhm.
want to get to do that really quickly. But I just want to make sure I since we're going to be working on this for the next however many months or weeks at least, I want to make sure it's something I'm going to like.
Yeah.
A character discovers they have a superpower. So the one that with the tissues kind of like, I mean, it made me laugh too. There is something kind of funny about that, but um, again, and that's a bit more cartoony, and I feel like I
Mhm.
could probably attack that one quite easily. The third one or the fourth one, I'm sorry, the one that one actually, I actually had some thoughts with that
Mhm.
too. And now that I'm seeing it and thinking about it, I'm actually characters coming into my mind. And then the last one, I think again, it's similar to the first, where there's a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
world
bigger.
building.
Yeah, I
Okay, do
agree.
you have a preference?
You know what? I don't really. But I think that, number 3 and 4 give a lot of ability to create something really intriguing. Because I like number
Hmm.
3 because it takes a known genre and kinda turns it on its head, right? Like, there's so much superhero stuff, but it's always very save the day and rescue and this is like a comedic take on that, which I think could be really interesting because it's something that everybody knows, but we're taking a left turn. And then the 4th one, I do really love that suspense, and I think that you could do a lot with that from the visual point of view of
Yeah.
how you design the scenes and the frames to really pull you into the horror of it. So those would probably be my 2, top choices from the list.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with 4. The
Alright.
the room with the door. And literally it just came to me like a really interesting visual. And I had mentioned before, we haven't really done anything with that uh, outside of the
Mhm.
genre of like comedic or
Yeah.
lighthearted. So I want to see what we can do with that. Okay.
Alright.
So
I'm gonna stop sharing
um
this.
yeah, and I'll share my screen.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I do love visuals in horror, right? And that's such a powerful aspect of it is building that using those visuals, and I think you could do a lot with it, so I'm excited to sort of go down this path.
So I'm gonna talk about my setup here because I'm sure that'll be the thing people are going to want to know right away. I
Mhm.
work on a Cintiq pressure sensitive tablet that allows for me to get some interesting kinds of effects with like brushes. It's the brush I'm using right now.
Mhm.
It's you can see if I make it a bit bigger. It's a stamp essentially,
Oh.
and when you have it designed a certain way, the stamp instead of just doing a single thing, it does a whole line of the uh, single images. So, and then I have a workflow. So I've created like a certain type of paper size. I'm working on what I would normally um, be using for like a comic book. Now we haven't
Mhm.
actually talked about whether this is going to be a comic book or like a comic strip or what, but I think this lends to me like a comic. What do you think?
I agree. I think that that would make the most sense for the type of visuals it needs to have to tell the story.
So yeah, I agree as well. And so I'm working with a brush that you can call it whatever you want. It's pencil brush, doesn't really matter. It's very loose. It creates like a really kind of um you can see here, there's like if I zoom in a little bit more, you can see there's like some real toothy, grainy looks
Mhm.
to it. It's very organic. And I love that, especially when you're just starting out with concept stuff. You don't want to be so precious with what you're drawing. You want to be able to let it be loose and flowing. And right now, I would say I'm doodling in a organized way. There's like doodling where you're not really so mindful, where you're just letting things flow. Like if I
Mhm.
were just to like go over the page and scribble and start to see if I can find images and stuff in there, that would be right a way
Mhm.
to doodle if you're not sure of an idea, if you don't know of like any kind of characters that you can think of. And I would have probably done that if I were trying to figure out like the um one of the other ones with like the uh character on, that's
Mm.
conscious or whatever. Uh,
Right.
this one, I had an image in my head of the character, and so I decided that instead of doing just a pure doodle, I'm going to do like a focused kind of structured
Mhm.
doodle, which I already had an image of the character, so I'm using the reference from my imagination of what I was seeing and trying to get it down um, as clearly as I can. And there's the door, right? There's going to be that door behind or
Yep.
yeah, kind of side of the person there, right? So they're not quite looking at it directly, but it's there.
Mhm.
Um, and the way I'm approaching this, again, I had this image in my head, and so I just thought it'd be cool to start with this. That's not necessarily how I would start everything. I may just work on like faces or um as I said, doodle different
Mhm.
ideas. This came to mind right away. This character and um the fact that there's this door kind of there, uh always there. And so that's why I was like, okay, that's probably the one I want to approach right now because it's easier for me to do something like that, um, where I can show somebody
Mhm.
from scratch. And as I'm drawing, I'm thinking of shapes. I'm thinking of light and dark. Um, I'm trying. I'm building things. I'm erasing with. So I have, as I said, I have this set up so that I can like use the brush to um, create lines. And then I also have a button on my Cintiq that I can erase. So it's almost like
Mhm.
I'm sculpting.
No, it's great, and the nice thing as a writer, often you feel like you need to answer all the questions immediately, right? Like you have to go with a fully formed idea to an illustrator. But if you have the opportunity to work as a team like this, you're going to allow both the ideas and the visuals to work together and get the most out of both of them, right? So you're not being prescriptive. In my premise, I didn't just say, this is what the person looks like, this is what the room looks like, this is how the story flows. It was very open ended so that Keith could come in and give a visual feel, and then I can turn that into a bit of story and we can go back and forth. And if you get the opportunity, that is a really great working relationship to have with somebody because it lets everybody do what they do best.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to have a partner you can like that you trust each other so that you can do what you feel is the best approach to something.
Mhm.
And I have worked with writers that have very definitive directions
Mhm.
as to what they want to do, and that's okay too. But when that happens, you're automatically going to be going in the direction that that writer wants you to go in.
Mhm,
And so, um, it's just there's all different. There's nothing like it's not like a one is better than the other. It's whatever works for you
mhm.
as the um, creative
And it
team, right?
depends
Everybody's gonna be
if you're
different.
sharing or leading, right? Like, if you wanna go in with it being your project and hiring an illustrator to execute your vision versus being, "Let's
Mhm.
do this together," because that's a very different approach, and that's been a lot of how Keith and I have worked together is more of a, "Let's do this together," versus a, "This is mine, and you're being hired to do a specific role." Again, both are they work, and people do both of them, and I've done both as well, but this is a great way to really expand an idea to its full potential because you're not telling somebody what to do, you're working with them.
So as I'm drawing this, I'm not really I didn't know exactly what was happening in this room, but I'm just thinking about, like, what's a cool composition. So I had
Mhm,
the person sitting on the ground. Again, that just it wasn't something I preconceived. It just kind of worked out. Um, and then I'm like, well, I need to put something on the ground too, because it otherwise it's just empty space.
mhm.
I'm like, well, what would be a cool thing to put there? And that right away, I'm like, books. So
Yeah.
then I'm like, why are there books on the ground? Right.
Mhm,
And so we have this person who has a door that is always been there and they can't open it. And so they're like reading up on it, right? They've like gone to the library or something where they found a box of books with articles in it about the door. So I don't know. I'm just
mhm. No.
spitballing here,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's kind of why. So right now, maybe the door isn't like so creepy, right? Maybe it's like somebody just moved in. Like maybe
Mhm,
there's even like I'm thinking about there'd be like boxes like on like they've just moved in to this place in this building and they have a door that they're like the landlord didn't give me a key to this
mhm.
door, like what they didn't tell me there was an extra. I don't remember there being this door here when we were looking earlier, like that kind
Yeah,
of thing. And then all of a sudden, this person kind of becomes obsessed with like
and
knowing what's in
possibly
that.
even as the story progresses, the door itself gets more imposing, right? Like, it starts to
Mhm.
either, like, rot or decay or change color or something about it, so it just becomes its own character, like, it's got its own personality that haunts them, right? Until they we figure out what they're gonna do with it, but I think in the beginning, it's somewhat innocuous. It's a door that doesn't open, it's strange, but not life-changing, but as the story progresses, it itself starts to taunt them.